Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer. I'm your host, RC. I'm joined by my co-host here, Jeff. How you doing? It's been a bit.
I'm doing good. Recovering from being sick for the first time in a few years.
Oh,
But
damn.
yeah, good
You get the
overall.
Rona?
Tested negative for that, so
Mm,
I don't think so. It just seemed to be like a congestion really in my lungs, and then it moved up to my throat. That was about it. So nothing too crazy.
thoughts and prayers, sir. Glad to hear you're on the mend. Had a little bit of a COVID scare here at the household, but still undefeated. We'll see how
Nice.
long. We'll see how long that lasts.
I'm right. So
Go ahead.
I'm right there with you. Only one in my house who hasn't tested positive for it. So
There you go. So, yeah, the usual stuff, self promotion, YouTube channel. Check us out there. You can see Jeff's lovely new hairstyle. Um, YouTube, or I just said YouTube. Our podcast feeds are on most podcast applications. Do not forget to rate and review. We would appreciate it. And the website, fcymixer.com. Been posting more F1 content there. Been trying to get stuff out, but will not be able to this weekend. I will be going out of town. So Twitter is going to be the best spot to find our thoughts on the French Grand Prix this weekend at Paul Ricard.
hmm.
And yeah, so follow us there at FC Wine Mixer on Twitter. Same on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, you at least get the notifications when something gets posted onto the website. So that's a plus there. Um, yeah, I mean, it's been a bit since we met. Since we met up, I don't know if it's been 2 or 3 races. Ferrari somehow is coming off back-to-back wins, but both back-to-back wins where I've felt disappointed. Jeff, I only have you for a short period of time, so mainly want to get your thoughts while you're here on the state of the championship battles, the kind of how the power dynamics are right now between Red Bull and Ferrari, and everything else that's going on in the F1 world.
Yeah, I think we're actually in a really interesting place in terms of where the drivers' championship is at. Even the constructors is on merit. Ferrari should probably be leading both, um, along with Leclerc leading the drivers' championship. But obviously reliability is part of building a car, and if you can't finish races, you don't deserve those points. So
Mm-hmm.
because of that, we have very competitive and close to Ferrari Red Bull, with Max leading the way there in first place, and then because of the DNFs that Ferrari and Red Bull have managed to come up with. Mercedes, who has one DNF on the year and finishes very well every race, is somehow still in it, like in a way, right? Like
Yeah,
they're not completely out of it yet.
I think.
And
Well, I mean, aren't they ahead of Ferrari in the constructors?
they might be. And the scary thing is it looks like they are really starting to figure out the car. I mean, Austria, they get what was it, the Lewis finished third, right? And then,
Mm-hmm. He's finished third
um,
3 times in a row for the brand,
yeah, they get like the
specifically.
third, fourth, right? Because Perez drops back, and then it was just Leclerc and Verstappen ahead. But, going into qualifying and even during qualifying, they looked right up there with the other two. And then obviously they both threw the car off the road and had to be rebuilt and all that. So you didn't get to see their full force on Sunday. But who knows? Maybe we get that three-way fight now. But I would still say we're looking at a Ferrari is the best car on most tracks. Um, Red Bull's a pretty close number two. So those four drivers should all finish one, two, three, four pretty much everywhere. And then Mercedes is nipping at their heels, it seems like. Obviously they're not perfect, but from some of the things that have been said recently and some of the progress that they've made, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they happen to take a win somewhere down the line. I don't know if you've heard anything about it, but I've seen talks of them actually turning up the engines because they have some engine upgrades coming and they want to see how they work. Um, you know, uh, it'll be interesting to see where everyone's at. But for now, I would list Leclerc and Ferrari as the favorites going into most races, um, but they have those reliability issues.
Yeah, I don't know where I got that stat from too about Mercedes being ahead of Ferrari or close. Ferrari's ahead of them by over 60 points. Maybe it was the last three races, but I mean, even looking at that, it does look close. So I'm not sure what stat I'm misremembering there. Or maybe somebody on Twitter, isn't 100% accurate. That's certainly possible too. Um,
No way. Twitter's 100% all the time.
yeah, I mean, it seems like the field is thinking the same as you about Mercedes resurging. Are they really a contender? Can they claw themselves back into it? Um, Let me look at the drivers real quick. So there's a significant gap. George Russell has 128 points. Lewis has 109. So Lewis is almost a full 100 points behind Max. I mean, it seems like realistically they're kind of out of the title hunts, but they could definitely sneak some wins out. And I mean, they have half the season, so and
Right.
nothing left to lose. They're well ahead of their next competitors. McLaren has 81 points. Mercedes has 237, and then
Yeah.
Ferrari at 303 and Alpine at 81. So yeah, Mercedes does not really have anything to lose. They're going to be probably going for race wins. This is supposed to be a track where they have their best shot. Um, we've seen now that both Ferrari and Red Bull have struggled, obviously, with their engines or power units and also their tires. That's how Ferrari was able to win in Austria because Max and Red Bull were struggling with rear tire degradation, and whereas Ferrari has had those struggles with their front tires. Paul Ricard is supposed to be pretty tough on front tires, so that would kind of skew things towards Red Bull's way. But it's gonna be hot as hell. I don't know if you've heard this, uh, Jeff, but the world be in fuego, the world be muy caliente ahorita, especially in the northern hemisphere, um, of which many of the Formula One races are. So um, that's going to be an X factor. Like, I don't know if the Heat will just kind of equalize things across all the teams because I mean, once it gets so hot, I don't know that one car is going to have a greater advantage over the others. I mean, I would be more worried about the power units than the tires because there is some variance there that we've seen. Um, I know you posted something about how Mercedes has a tendency to not do well in the heat, but I can't remember when that happened. So,
Well,
from one podcast I listened to said that they struggle with heating up the tires, and if it's going to be hot track, maybe they'll be good in that. You know, they'll that'll be in their favor, but who knows?
yeah, I posted that because I remember multiple times this year they've had they'll do well in like FP1 or FP3 or whatever, but then the announcers make comments like, "Oh, well, it's going to be warmer during qualifying."
Hmm.
Mercedes struggles when the temperatures go up. I think because their engines run fairly hot, so they tend to I believe people believe that they turn them down a little bit so they don't have reliability issues.
Yeah.
So I think that is more at what's at play there than anything. It's not that they've like struggled and missed and didn't finish the race or anything. It's just more of
Right.
they tend to not be as close to the front when it's warmer out.
They're doing damage limitation, whereas Ferrari
Yeah,
and Red Bull are competing for the title, so they're running their engines as at full capacity as much as they can in sacrificing the reliability,
yeah,
which we've seen, you know, especially for Ferrari, has not been a good formula. Um, so yeah, and I mean, maybe this is the spot where Red Bull and Ferrari are like, you know what? I think when does the summer break start? Is there a 3 week break after this race? I can't
it's
remember.
after the next one.
Okay, so we got
I think
Hungary,
it's
I believe,
Spa
is the
or
next one.
Hungary, and then they come back for Spa, I believe. I think
I
is what it is. It's something
see.
like that.
Hungary used to be my least favorite track, but there's been some good races there, and it tends to rain. Plus, I think with these cars, it'll make Hungary interesting. But yeah, this is my least favorite track now. Like when I'm watching it, I can't figure out where the hell they are on the track. I rewatched the last three French Grand Prix from Paul Ricard, and I still don't know the track. Like, I mean, any corner, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the chicane, that's the twisty bit, and there's a straight, and like, I just can't get like north or south or east or west of the
Yeah,
track. Like, I don't know where they're at in comparison to the start finish line.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've run through it a few times on the F1 game, trying to like learn it a little bit before this weekend, and it's just so bland. Like there's like the
yeah,
track actually seems fun to drive, but there's nothing around it. Like it's literally just a racetrack, and it's just kind of boring. It's not like I'll throw Baku out there just because there's some well-known areas like you have the castle section. You know where you are when you hit that, right?
yeah,
Paul Ricard doesn't have anything like that. There's no, I guess the chicane maybe. That's like the one thing on the track that like, okay, I sort of know where I'm
yeah. It's weird
at.
because France is like the birthplace of a motorsport, and between Paul Ricard and Magny Cour, the former track, they're like really boring. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's Le Mans, but it's not suited for Formula One cars with a long Mulsanne straight. I mean, there's a few straightaways that are super long. There is a shorter track, the Bugatti circuit, I believe, Superbikes race there. I don't know if there can be some reconstruction done with the configuration to accommodate a Formula One um, compatible track. I mean, they have the paddock already. It's a Grade One circuit by the FIA. So I mean, that seems like an obvious one to me, but I don't know. Well, it seems like that idea always gets shot down. However, Fernando Alonso did do a run in the Alpine there last year, I think. So I don't know, maybe. There's a guy that I follow on. He's a writer for Racer magazine. He covers IndyCar and sports car racing. His name is Marshall Pruitt. He's a good follow. His podcast, it's called The Week in Sports Cars, and he a few months ago, maybe even longer, mentioned that there was some story that was just like a whisper that would blow the minds of motorsports fans if it came to fruition. And I mean, I can only think of like two things, and this is on the sports car show. So I can only think of like a handful of things that it could be, and one of them would be Formula One racing at Le Mans, doing a Grand Prix. The other thing I thought is like maybe a 24 hours at race at Indianapolis or something.
Mm.
That would be pretty big. However, to me, that's not like, I mean, that'd be big for like the sports car virgins like myself, but like if they, I don't know, if they did a Grand Prix at Le Mans, um, yeah, that would be wild. They definitely get some recognition there. Um, and he said like it was a fledgling idea, like can't even like put out the rumor because it could very easily fall apart. And so yeah, I mean the only other thing I could think of is uh like there being a like having the Formula One drivers race in sports cars, like for for Ferrari or Mercedes or Alpine even. All
Yeah.
these Mercedes does not have one, but Ferrari and Alpine and Red Bull maybe they keep like flirting with Porsche or some other teams about doing a sports car race, a sports car team. So I mean I don't know. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but yeah, Paul Ricard, like some blue and red lines does not give your track characters bro. How do you say bro in French? Is it Pierre? Pierre? No,
It
that's
might be
racist.
actually.
That sounds racist or
Pierre's a
stereotypical.
bro though. He wouldn't be mad. Pierre's a bro.
Yes. God, I don't I was watching I can't get a read on him this year cuz I mean, he's been really good in the past. I mean, Yuki's doing all right, but the results just haven't been there this year. And he was talking about in the pre-race interview how the team was like right there. There's like one or two things away from being able to compete for wins. I was like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, he might be a little off there. I think that car is it does not seem easy to drive. We'll just leave it at that. Like,
Yeah.
I think Pierre's a very good driver. I think Yuki's fast on his day. I don't think Yuki's as consistent as he needs to be. Um, but that car just doesn't look. It looks like it looks very similar to the McLaren, except it doesn't quite have the peak that the McLaren has at times. And maybe that's just Lando's better, right? But
Yeah.
they both seem very hard to drive.
Yeah. The other thing that's been on my mind, I don't know how much more time you got here, Jeff, but the other thing that's been on my mind is silly season, of course.
I got a couple
I
minutes
put up
for this, so
Okay. I put up an article about it a little bit, mainly focused on what's going on at McLaren because if anybody has paid attention to the news, basically everybody drives for McLaren. So they have Lando, they have Ricardo, obviously, and then they got IndyCar champ Pato Award, Alex Palau, and wait, Pato Award didn't win. I think Palau won the title, and then Colton Herta, all linked to the team under some sort of contract. McLaren has obviously the Formula One team, McLaren Racing, and then there's Aero McLaren SP, I think, which is the IndyCar team. So it's not it's a separate team running under the McLaren name. So I believe McLaren helps out with some of the finances, but it's like I think it's a Honda engine, and all the Formula One, or excuse me, all the IndyCar teams are spec, so the cars are all the same. It's not like Formula One
right,
where you have different front and rear wings and all that. So less incentive for McLaren to put their like name on it as a manufacturer. It's more of like a sponsor, kind of like with Aston Martin in Formula One or Alfa Romeo, or even I guess not so much Alpine, but Alpine's a Renault with Alpine sponsorship. It's all
yeah,
freaking incestual, the whole motorsport gang. But anyway, um, the three drivers from IndyCar, two from the actual Aero McLaren team, plus I think Villau, that's from Chip Ganassi Racing, the former title winner, is all getting like testing time in the McLaren Formula One team. McLaren's been talking to Andretti a lot, um, and they've been kind of pimping out, or not pimping out, but really like banging the drum for Colton Herta to get a seat. He's an American. Pato Award is Mexican. I don't know what Palau is. But anyway, 5 drivers possibly for 2 Formula One seats. It really seems like Colton Herta wants to be one. It really seems like Ricardo's on his way out. So why would they have the other 2 drivers? I basically hypothesized that Lando may not be staying there as long term as we think, and McLaren might be looking for 2 drivers here in the near future. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, Jeff, or am I
I don't think
connecting
you're.
dots that aren't there?
I think you're connecting dots that are potentially there, but aren't there at the moment. I don't see Lando leaving just because I don't see a spot at one of those top 3 teams opening just yet. Um, but should Lewis retire, for let's say Ferrari decides like we're done with Sainz or something like that, something happens with Perez, I could see Lando stepping up for one of those seats, getting out of that McLaren deal somehow.
Yeah,
Um,
like I mean, what would happen? I mean, it's happened before. Like I'm rewatching the 2006 Formula One season, and um, Michael Schumacher kind of at a surprise announces that he's going to retire. And there's like rumors going on. And I mean, he ends up doing the Jordan thing where he goes away and comes back. He does not win any
right.
titles though. But I could just Lewis at Bahrain being like so complimentary of Ferrari, just like that has really like wrecked my brain from the start. Maybe I'm just looking for um like self-validation and into why that stuck with me. But yeah, and then Ferrari's immediate reaction to like extend Carlos Sainz like right after, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're bringing signs on for the next year too. It's like, okay, it's like nobody asked, bro, but like, you know
Right.
what I mean? So that leads me to think that Mercedes is either like telling Lewis, because I think he's on like a 2-year deal or something,
I
which
think his
again, I
deal's through
don't.
2023, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about it. I just forgot. So if you want to see my whole thoughts on it, go to the website fcymixer.com, check it out. Um, but yeah, and then I don't know, I just started to put stuff together. Like Lando's been kind of down because of his mono. I mean, tonsillitis. Um, or is he just like 1 foot out the door, not really giving it 100%? I like, what the hell's going on with McLaren? They've freaking pimped out their sponsorships to so many cars since it was really since Mercedes came in as a factory team, because they used to be basically Mercedes's team, because yeah, I mean, they were the number 1 team with a Mercedes engine. um, so yeah, I mean, I just think there's something there. I don't know how it's gonna fall, but it's exciting to think about. Maybe some American blood getting infused into McLaren.
I do think the other thing with McLaren is I don't know if all the Indy guys have enough super license points. I know Palau does, but I don't
Mm.
know if Award and Herta do. So maybe they're
That's
just
why.
covering their bases.
Well, yeah, in doing the testing will help them with that. They've
Right.
also talked about revising the super license rules, because it is kind of skewed to where basically like IndyCar doesn't mean squat unless you win a title.
Right.
So yeah, I haven't looked into the specifics, but yeah, that's one of them. And I mean, they could always do a WEC program and do a few races there, and especially with Porsche coming in. I don't know. Again, it's all freaking incestuous because of because all these teams have like different allegiances and different levels of sports. Like there's Formula
Right.
E, there's WEC, there's IMSA, there's IndyCar, and like it's all the same five like engine makers with like 20 different teams that they share the drivers. It's very communal.
All right. I gotta head out.
All right, dude. Well, thanks for joining. I'm gonna finish off some thoughts, but yeah, Jeff, it's always good to catch up with you. Hope you and the fam are well.
Same to you. Have fun in Vegas.
Yeah, tell the dogs what's up.
Oh, of course. See ya.
See ya. Right on cue. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking about for the future of Formula One because I didn't get to mention it to Jeff, but I watched the pre-race stuff for the race this weekend, and Lewis was asked, some reporter asked him if you could tell like the younger version of Lewis. um because I know why. It's because apparently this race weekend is Lewis's 300th Grand Prix, which he had no idea of, or he was approaching 300. And some capital J asked him like, what would you tell uh junior Lewis Hamilton before his first race? And he said, I don't know. He's thrown off by the question. And then what he ended up saying was to just enjoy it. Because when you're younger, you think you have all this time to go. You're gonna have a long career, um, but it doesn't last. It doesn't last forever. I don't think he said those exact words, but he was certainly inferring it. Kind of obviously, obviously leading to the fact that he's getting up there. I think he's like getting up there. I think he's like 36, 37, something like that. He's maybe a few years older than me. We've seen drivers race well into their 40s, but I mean, Mercedes brought in George Russell, who's very young, and I think they have DeVries, who's very talented as their test driver. So, not to mention, they could have their choice of any young driver they would want. So it just seems like the writing's on the wall that um, Mercedes may be gently suggesting to Lewis that it might be a good time to hang it up so that they don't have to have the awkward situation to where they do not renew their 7-time champions, I guess 6 times with Mercedes, but 7-time overall um, champion. They don't renew his contract. Um, so, so that would leave a big hole. They can go with one of their young test drivers, DeVry, I'm sure they have a junior driver program, but like Lando would be a good fit there. I could see him wanting to go there. And I mean, as much as it hurts me to say, but like we've seen the frustration from Charles with how Ferrari's strategy has kind of cost him at least one race, but possibly more. And I mean, if he's looking at his predecessors with how Vettel did with Ferrari, how Fernando Alonso did, drivers that are certainly capable of bringing home titles, and how they wasted years of their careers with him, I could see him entertaining the idea of going to Mercedes if Ferrari keeps shooting themselves in the foot. So, um, yeah, there could be a significant shift in drivers, and especially with possibly Porsche and Audi joining Formula One, which I still don't know how that's going to look. And supposedly Porsche is going to be doing something with Red Bull, but Red Bull are currently working with Honda, and Honda wants back in now that F1 is popular and their engines aren't catching on fire. I don't know. I just I just think there's going to be some shuffling going on, and um, it's not going to be what we expect. So yeah, and I mean, even with Alpine and Alonso, like there's a there's a spot there. I feel like Gasly would be good with Alpine, but I guess he scuffled with those guys before. He's not making friends exactly with other teams. So yeah, I don't know. Um, it'll be fun to watch, but I mean, I just think McLaren is the key. Well, Lewis Hamilton and McLaren specifically, and then everything else is gonna be shuffled around based on that. And I think the best way to do it would be for McLaren to convince Honda to stay in Formula One, become their engine supplier. That way, Honda could still have their name in Formula One and almost as a factory effort and run McLaren basically the same way that it was when Mercedes was their engine supplier, or even Honda back in the early '90s, and um, and to partner with Andretti, who wants in Formula One, but the new owners or the owners of the teams do not want to increase the grid size because adding an additional team would affect the revenue sharing. I mean, it's it's I don't know. It's all very complicated. Um, but yeah, maybe it's wishful thinking, but McLaren, Andretti, Honda with Colton Herta and Pato Award. I mean, who doesn't want that? I mean, count me down. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, those are the thoughts that I have heading into the race. If I had to make some predictions, I mean, why not? Let's go, Lewis. I could see. I mean, Ferrari's got some momentum, having won the last two races, but having a car disappoint. I mean, Charles was leading, ended up finishing fourth in Silverstone, and then freaking Sainz, Ferrari looked like they were on their way to a 1-2 before Sainz's engine destructed. He might be taking a new engine this weekend, which kind of indicates to me that Ferrari may think they're not in a real good spot for contention. Um, so yeah, I mean it's either going to be Max or Lewis. I think if Charles wins this one, yeah, I mean Ferrari is either really the best car and they've gotten the handle of things, or Charles is just like head and shoulders above the rest of the drivers, even Max. So yeah, I think we're gonna learn a lot from this race, and I'm looking forward to it. Although I don't know how I'm gonna watch it. I don't know how I'm gonna bet it because DraftKings is not accessible in Nevada. So I'm gonna have to get the lineups early. All right, well, that's gonna do it for now. So thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm gonna get some pumpernickel. Toodaloo!